Hello Transformer fans. I know a few people have beat me to the punch on this review, but I'm going to go ahead and do a review of Transformers Generations Power of the Primes Prime Wars Trilogy Part 3 Celebration Figure Counterpunch. Now, this is, as I said, a figure to commemorate the Prime Wars Trilogy. He is supposed to be a Power of the Primes figures, but he's a deluxe, but lacks the limb mode that every other deluxe in the line has had. But he did include Prime Armor, which I've put on the back of the Counterpunch robot mode to act as a jetpack. He also includes Prime Master Prima Prime. That's a lot of primes all at once, in an ice blue color. So I guess we can call this Shining Prima, to differentiate him from the Prima that comes with the Throne of Primes. He also includes his gun, which doesn't match his robot mode very well, and the little filler piece for his Prime Armor, which can also be held in his hand as a gun, or maybe a scanning device of some sort, or a just kind of thing. As some of you may have seen online, there is a slight assembly error, or maybe not an assembly error, and some people just don't know what they're doing with their toys. But I've already performed the fix that gives him a little bit more range in the shoulder joint at the torso there. He's also got a ball joint, so he gets some pretty good forward and back and in and out motion using those two joints, a hinge here and a ball there somewhere, so he can, properly point his gun. The main thing it does, though, is for transformation into vehicle mode, which we'll get to in a little bit, and I'll talk about it then. But I heard that his Autobot counterpart is nearby. Real nearby. In his Autobot mode, he's got a lot more orange going on in the chest. The legs are the same, they don't even rotate around. The arms have the same articulation, but because of the configuration of the shoulder towers, they're somewhat more limited, but they're on a lot of joints, so you can move them around and even reconfigure them in different ways to get a little more use out of his shoulder joints. Hey, that's not bad, actually. Wide shoulders are in Prime Wars. Just ask any of the combiners. And again, he's got the same accessories. It's, of course, the same figure. The Prime Armor fits on the back, which is the front of Counterpunch. His faction symbols are on these little flip-down panels that reveal a 5mm peg for the Prime Armor, so you can put it on his chest if you want to, but I like putting the Prime Armor on his back to make it look more like a back than just the front of another robot. Although in punch mode, it's not as bad. There's a lot of Transformers that have the front top portion of their car as their back, so this is less offensive as a back than an Autobot's chest. One thing I've noticed about Counterpunch versus Punch are his eyes. On Punch, they kind of blend into the silver of his faceplate. They don't really pop out, but real quick, with Counterpunch, the red contrasts really nicely between the black and blue, so his eyes really pop. Going all natural with the lighting doesn't help too much, but trust me, when you get the light to hit his face just right, those red eyes really stick out. Not so much the case for Punch here. He's just kind of upsetting to the dog. But let's get into vehicle mode. Alright, vehicle mode is a nice shade of blue on a very interesting sports car design. As you can see in vehicle mode, he's got storage for the Prime armor, he's got pegs for Prima to stand on the back of the car mode and get burnt by the jet booster that the Prime armor makes. You can store the gun underneath the vehicle mode, partially eliminating visible head syndrome, so that's always good. Taking off all the extra bits of his car mode. There goes Prima. It's a really interesting blend of kind of a Corvette look here in the front with the kind of sinister smiley face grille and the wheel humps. Very reminiscent of modern Corvettes with how small the wheel humps are compared to the rest of the hood. Then the back end kind of feels more modern Camaro or other, you know, generic sports car, but it does remind me of some versions of movie Bumblebee back here, but without the spoiler. Oh, here's a movie Bumblebee without the spoiler. As you can see, there are a few similarities. But again, the front ends are just, this is definitely Corvette, and I wish I still had a Trax figure to compare it to. It's got nice painted rims. They're clip-on wheels, but they're clip-on wheels that are done right, where the wheel clips into the vehicle instead of the wheel clipping onto the vehicle, so the clip is not visible in alt mode. There are some ways you can see it in robot mode if you move some pieces around to get a look at it, but that's just looking for problems with an otherwise really good figure. He rolls fairly well, even with his gun clipped onto the bottom. It's pretty flat. The taillights are picked out in red paint. The headlights are actually a clear plastic in there. One problem I'm having is getting the front to line up every single time. But it is doable. It just takes a little finessing, a little massaging to get that right. But it really is a lovely vehicle mode, almost worth buying a second or third just so you can display all three modes that this character has. I'm sticking with this one. He's going to be my punch, as I have the Transformers Collectors Club Counter Punch, currently acting as a leg for Galvatronus. If you have any version of Punch, Counter Punch, or just Counter Punch, this is a good update for a modern collection. He's definitely better than the old Classics retool that the Transformers Collectors Club did way back in the day. No parts forming for this guy, so that's good. The robot modes are much more unique from one another than the other one the Transformers Collectors Club did. And the nice thing about this one is this is actually Hasbro finally saying, here is your Punch Counter Punch. Homage to the G1 figure, like you've always wanted. Two distinct robot modes, one beautiful car mode, an Autobot counterpart that's always nearby. So, thank you Hasbro for doing this. This is a lovely figure, this is a great update, an excellent homage to the G1 figure. Transformations, complicated, but not frustratingly so, like, I don't know, Revenge of the Fallen Mixmaster. The only frustrating thing about his transformation is going from vehicle mode to either one of his robot modes. This back end stays together really well, almost too well, and I haven't found a graceful way to get it apart. I just kind of tend to manhandle it until it splits, and then just struggle with it until it comes apart. And yeah, the fix that I was talking about allows the arms to sit here just ever so slightly tighter to the body, whereas before the fix they didn't go in as well. So closing this up was much more difficult than it is now. I don't know if it's a misassembly or not. I'm leaning towards, yes, it is a misassembly. Hey, he's got a flying car mode. Swoosh, swoosh. Look at it. It's like Mask. But yeah, it is a good figure. All three modes are great. They do exactly what they're supposed to. There aren't too many hollow bits. I mean, the legs are mostly empty space filled in with parts from the car, so it's kind of hollow, but it needs to be. So there's somewhere for all this car mass to go. See there? So yeah, the legs are kind of hollow, but they have to be to accommodate transformation. And most hollow parts on Transformers that I've seen are the same way. They're not hollow to save money, but hollow from an engineering standpoint. I know that's not always the case with some figures. I had a couple of Robots in Disguise, modern Robots in Disguise figures that they had just big hollow empty parts for no reason other than cost cutting. And I know that's what Hasbro's got to do, and I know a lot of fans are frustrated by it, but if we want to keep the prices of deluxes between $15 and $20, we're going to have to sacrifice, you know, some plastic. And I'd rather they make parts hollow than make fewer parts. Because Counterpunch here would really suffer if he had fewer parts and the legs were just actually hollow and all this extra car part just hung off the back. No, he's not a Decepticon at all. The other thing included with this set, as I've already mentioned, was the Prime Master of Prima, the ice blue one. You can see him here. Not really in focus. Come on, don't look at me. Look at him. No, it doesn't want to focus on him. It wants to focus on my hand. He's interesting. He lights up if the light hits him just right. It's kind of got to come in from the side or from the front top. It won't do anything if it just comes from this angle. Although the sunlight from the window is catching really good right now. But what I did notice when I got him is that he appears to be a remold of Octopunch, Solus Prime. Let's get her over here. As you can see, the details on their chest are the same, as well as, well, you can't tell because it just won't focus on them. But their bodies are identical, but they have the different symbol on the back. What that would have meant for Prima's decoy armor, if he were ever going to get one, I don't know. But we've seen plenty of Prime Masters that were retooled from existing Prime Masters that got released with decoy armor. I don't know about the Throne of Primes, except for, obviously, Prima's the same, just different colors. And, I mean, there's really not much to get excited about with these guys. I do wish, though, they had picked a darker shade of blue, or maybe a bright yellow for the symbol, because even in good lighting, the details just get lost, all one color. But he's not bad. You can see the symbol pretty clearly if you have, you know, better focus than my tablet. But, I mean, as much as I've gone on about this, there's really not a whole lot going on here. It's a Prime Master. It's the same engineering as the old Titan Masters, so you can put them in the Prime Armor, you can put them in the Power of the Primes Combiner, you can put them in vehicle modes of Legends class figures from the last 2 lines of the Prime Wars trilogy, or you could get nutty, be a little silly, and if he cooperates, you can make him a head for no real reason other than a god needs a body. What does a god need with a starship?